unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on the Zelda movie cast, the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer, Ubisoft addresses the Stop Killing Games movement, and senior citizens storm the esports scene. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's hop right in. The Legend of Zelda live-action feature has had a script for some time now, but no word on who will play the Princess Zelda and the franchise silent protagonist, Link. Well, as of last week, we finally got some answers direct from the Nintendo News app regarding their casting. Actress Bo Bragason has been cast as Zelda. You may or may not know her from her starring role in the Disney Plus series Renegade Nell, and Link will be played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, who voiced Pinocchio in the live-action remake and appeared in The Haunting by Bly Manor. The Legend of Zelda movie will be directed by Wes Bell, who is best known for directing the Maze Runner trilogy, and most recently, The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Nintendo still has plans to release the Legend of Zelda movie in May 2027. The first official trailer for the Mortal Kombat 2 movie premiered last week. Carl Urban, who starred as Billy Butcher in The Boys, will portray Mortal Kombat bad boy and movie star Johnny Cage. Actors and their characters from the previous Mortal Kombat film will be returning to the sequel. Well, at least the ones who didn't die anyway. Simon McWoyd is making his return as the film's director. Mortal Kombat 2 will release in theaters on October 24th, 2025. The world of esports is welcoming in a whole new generation of gamers after 73-year-old grandmother and Tekken 8 panda main Yoshi Murabe earned the championship title in her esports league. The senior league tournament, organized by Care Esports, spared no expense in making the senior bout feel every bit as professional as any other esports tournament. The tournament had it all, including live commentary, post-match interviews, and even player bios complete with high-octane graphics. 8 contestants made up the Tekken 8 tournament, with the youngest gamer being 67 years old and the most seasoned of them signing in at 93 years old. But don't let their ages fool you. These are pros who can hold their own against the vast majority of Tekken enthusiasts, proving that no matter your age, you're never too old to be a gamer. The Stop Killing Games initiative that began its journey in response to Ubisoft halting support of The Crew has come back around in a full-circle moment during a Ubisoft shareholders meeting where Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot was asked about the movement. Mr. Guillemot had this to say: "Regarding the petition, we operate in a market, and whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. But nothing is written in stone, and at some point, the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. And we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers because obviously support for all games cannot last forever. The lifespan of a piece of software, whenever there's a service component, eventually services may be discontinued because eventually the software may become obsolete over time. A lot of tools become obsolete 10 or 15 years down the line. They're no longer available. But clearly, this is a far-reaching issue, and we're working on it." I commend Mr. Guillemot for taking the time to address the Stop Killing Games movement and recognizing that there is a recurring issue plaguing games that rely on servers to run. However, it still seems that publishers like Ubisoft may not fully recognize what Stop Killing Games is asking of them. No one is asking for companies to support a game forever, especially if supporting a game financially comes to the detriment of the developer or its staff. All anyone is asking for are the tools to keep a game running when the developer decides to support their game no longer. That's it. All anyone really wants at the end of the day is to ensure that the art of video games can be preserved and enjoyed for generations to come.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest this week. Victor Lucas joins us to chat about the Zelda movie casting news, the new Mortal Kombat trailer, and our thoughts on the game preservation movement.
Select game mode.
Victor, it's good to have you back.
Oh, it's good to be here. It's good to see your face.
Yeah, same with you. I'm just excited to talk about this cool stuff we got going on. Video game movies are killing it because this week it's all about the Zelda movie, the casting movie news, and Mortal Kombat 2, the trailer. We finally got it. But starting off with Zelda, they went the right direction, right? I feel like they went with no-name actors or lesser-known actors to cast Link and Zelda. What do you think?
I think the pressure is so high on this movie because it's pretty hard to conceptualize exactly what it's going to be because the stories in the Zelda games have always been purposefully vague to put you in the role of Link and to kind of make it your story, especially the most modern Zelda experiences. So I think they did the right thing by giving us not, blank screens here. I think these actors, these young actors, what is it? Benjamin Evan Ainsworth and Bo Bergson. I think Bragason. Yeah, they both have, we're going to know their names very well very soon, but they both have experience, but they aren't household names, and they certainly look the part. I think the coolest thing about this announcement is that Shigeru Miyamoto was the one that kind of broke the news on Nintendo's Twitter, and he kind of said, this is Miyamoto here, and he introduced these two young actors, and they sure look the part. But the thing that excites me the most, honestly, about this film is that Wes Ball is going to direct it, and he's got some real chops. I loved Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was one of his most recent blockbusters, and I think he did a phenomenal job sort of carrying the torch from Matt Reeves, who is now in Batman land. And I think Kingdom was such a cool movie. It was a great kind of extension, but also a fresh take on the Planet of the Apes, the recent Planet of the Apes films that we've gotten. And so I have high hopes that Zelda is going to be handled with that same amount of care and love and craft. And I've read a couple of things about Wes Ball's fandom for Zelda and sort of concerns and care for this property. So I think it's in good hands, and the casting is encouraging, and Shigeru Miyamoto announcing the date in 2027 that the film is coming. I mean, it feels so, imminent and so weird that it's coming. Like it's a real thing, something we've thought about and talked about forever in the video game space. But this movie is happening, and it's a live action Zelda. It's crazy.
Know. The hype could not be higher at this point. Yeah. And I am curious, though, have you thought about this? Because Zelda, or Link, I should say, is a silent character in the games.
Yes.
So how are they going to play along that? Are we going to finally hear Link talk? I don't think that's the right approach, but I also don't know how they're going to do it if he is a silent character in the movie.
I think it will be a sparing script, and I think just judging by photos and some of the stuff that's been released so far on Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, he's got an expressive face, and so when you look at him, you can see in his eyes that he's got giant eyes. He looks very young, but it looks like maybe what they'll do is they'll slowly introduce expressions, and he will start to react, and maybe towards the end of the movie he'll have grown, and the arc will be for him to find his power and his voice, which would be kind of a cool take on it.
I kind of like that. All right. Well, we'll have to talk more about this video game movie news. We have Mortal Kombat trailer to talk about next. Let's cut to games out this week. We'll be right back.
Games out this week.
Starting on July 22nd, Cypher Zero and Hell Clock Rewind on PC. Hyperspaced Crashlands on PC, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Monument Valley 3 is making the jump from mobile and will be available on PS4, PS5, PC, Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. On July 23rd, Wheel World shifts gears on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and launches day one on Game Pass. Then on July 24th, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers takes wing on PS5, PC, Xbox Series X and S, and is day one release on Game Pass. Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV buzz in exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2. Split, Supervive, and The Great Villainous Strategy of the Lily team up on PC. Killing Floor 3 swarms onto PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. No Sleep for Konami Date uncovers the truth on PC and Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. And on July 28th, Relic Bound and Nidana launch on PC. The Epic Game Store is offering just one free game this week. Legion TD2 will be available for download from July 24th until the 31st.
West. Accepted.
And we're back. Okay, Mortal Kombat trailer looks so good. Everyone who I spoke to this week was like, have you seen it? I was like, yes, I have. It is amazing. It's pitch perfect. You just watched it. What did you think?
I was on vacation when it dropped, and I was trying not to be completely obsessed with video games while I was away with my family. And so I didn't watch it until just right now. And holy crap, it's perfect, man. Like the love that the filmmakers have for the property. And what blows me away is that when Ed Boon and John Tobias created this property, it was kind of Midway's response to the success of Street Fighter from Capcom. And they really put some energy into creating characters that had this indelible spirit and this quirky sense of fun and this, kind of wink at a lot of pop culture. And Johnny Cage, I think, was emblematic of that. This character that was supposed to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme and just full of himself and a complete a-hole. And I love Carl Urban as an actor. Like he just keeps popping up in cool project after cool project.
Great franchises.
He's always good. You know, he's in the Marvel universe. He was Judge Dredd. He's in Star Trek. He's in The Boys. He's always good. And he looks like he's amazing as Johnny Cage in this film.
So good.
He doesn't have the martial arts chops though, and you can kind of feel it already from the trailer stuff. Like, I think he's selling it well, but the actor himself, like he's not known for his fighting skills and all the martial arts skills that some of the other actors who were purposefully cast for this new franchise definitely appear to have. Like a lot of these guys are throwing themselves around and they know what they're doing with their arms and legs. And Carl Urban, I just don't get the same level just from the little bits.
Right.
But obviously they're going to throw the stunt people. Yeah. But I think
he's trying his best.
But he's also saying that he's an actor as well, right?
This is not what I do. What am I doing
in the
here?
movie and in the trailer, and he has no powers. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be incredibly stupidly violent and hilarious.
I think hilarious. I think compared to the first one, this will be like the more comedy focused.
Yeah, and the first one was successful, so they can up the budget and up the kind of scale and have a little more fun with it.
That's what I feel like this movie is. But this time we're just going to get, it's a little bit more Marvel-esque in my sense, like the way that it looked.
And we're following Cage, it looks like. It looks like he's the star and his story, and he's the fish out of water, which brings the audience in a good way, right? Like we all know that character because he's based on all of these 80s and 90s action movie heroes that we have known. And so even if you're not really like, I can imagine all the dates that get taken to Mortal Kombat that don't know all the lore and haven't played all the games and stuff. Johnny Cage is that perfect character to intro you and to follow along with as you get into this lore, It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. As I was watching, I was thinking like, this is it's a sequel, but the first movie, I think as successful as it was, I think this one might be more successful because just for that reason, I think people will be like, what is this movie? I think it'll open up the audience a little bit more.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see where that goes. All right. Well, any other thoughts on Mortal Kombat? I think we covered it.
I just, you know what? I mean, I've known Ed Boon and John Tobias for so many years. I met them at the very first E3, and we were talking about the Mortal Kombat games coming to home console, like Super Nintendo back then. And it's just, I'm so happy for them and their success. And I don't know if you've ever talked with Ed Boon or John, but Ed Boon has kind of stuck with the franchise for this whole time.
Absolutely. He's the go-to guy to follow on, social platforms for stuff.
Yeah. And he's the get over here guy. So his voice is actually in the movie. Get over here.
In the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love, but he's so down to earth and so humble about it. And he's always kind of sharing the accolades with his team and I think is as surprised and happy and proud of his success and the longevity of this franchise as we all are, as super fans that have been here right from the very beginning with it. And couldn't happen to nicer people, like I agree. I'm really happy for them. And especially if the movie, and I think the first one kind of is crafted with as much care and respect for the fans and the franchise, as this one looks like it's going to be. I think it's going to be a home run. I'm really excited.
I'm so excited. All right, we're going to switch gears to another thing that's kind of exciting, actually, that's happening in the gaming space. A lot of positive news today, which is perfect because you're back from vacation and we get to chat about it. Ubisoft acknowledged the Stop Killing Games movement. They said they're going to try their best, or they're looking into it, at least is what they said, to see how they can preserve games going forward. So the movement seems to be working. Have you followed this? Have you thought about what this movement is, and have you looked into like what they're trying to do? I mean, to me, it just seems like they're trying to convince a lot of studios to, hey, like, don't let these games die. Preserve the history of these games.
I think this is incredibly important. I really do. I don't know all of the intricacies of the actual movement and all of the people behind it. I know that it's incredibly popular and has lots and lots of signatures, and there's some real momentum in there. But I think that preservation has really risen in prominence in the video game industry, and people are a lot less forgiving around the idea that we have to just dismiss all of the work as we move from console generation to another console generation. I think there's some excellent determining elements out there. The fact that Steam has been around so long and has done a pretty good job at preserving the games on its digital marketplace. So you can go back a couple of decades in some cases and play games from a totally different time, a totally different era and technology, and you can still have a pretty good time. And in fact, when I one of the stops that I went to on my vacation was Paris, and I was inspired to play the Saboteur game that EA published, that Pandemic made years ago, which is one of my favorite classic games. And I loaded it up on my Steam Deck, which I had, and I was, killing Nazis and freeing some areas of Paris. And I love that we can dive back into classic games, period. I love all of the initiatives, and I think they need to extend. And the other thing that's in the news right now is there's, I think, an Italian YouTuber out there that was covering one of some of these emulation handhelds on his channel, and then had law enforcement come to his door and search his premise, and now he's caught up in some kind of a legal / court battle and is potentially facing some jail time. And I don't know all the specifics there, but one of the things about all these emulation devices is that they often are the only conduit to play abandoned titles. And whether they're captured legally or not, it is a way for players to see some of these games from decades ago. And I think the video game industry is waking up to the fact that this is a forever business. It is an art form, and it is more than just a toy or a momentary fad or a hobby that's contemporary and then it's going to disappear. People are discovering classic games. They're wanting to replay them for decades after they've come out. They want to share them with family members. They want to pass on those experiences to people. And that art needs to be protected and preserved. And also that is in direct contrast to these extended development times on these AAA titles, how long we have to wait before some of these big games get released. And so the importance of classic gaming in this landscape has never been more profound and more readily apparent for everybody out there, And Nintendo has understood that. And I think they've done a pretty good job with their eShop offerings, the virtual console stuff, and now their Nintendo Switch Online stuff. But they need to expand that. And Xbox needs to expand their services. I really feel like with Game Pass, one of the agendas for Xbox going forward should be to offer every game that was on the original Xbox and the original Xbox 360 and just keep...
Yeah, why not? Make it more valuable. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that means that publishers, they're going to have to get off their butts and renegotiate license deals. And sometimes they're pretty complicated because of music licensing and creators that create, maybe third-party creators that built some art or something need to kind of be reimbursed, and new contracts have to be made. And it's probably a little bit difficult to isolate the financing on all of this stuff, but we are moving more and more into subscription-based models for a lot of this classic material, and that is important work that should be happening. So if this Stop Killing Games sort of movement is making that a bigger deal for companies, I'm all for it. I think that it should be happening.
Yeah, I agree. And I also was wondering, as you were talking, I was like, is there a way or a model where they do make this a subscription model of some kind? I know it's another subscription and we're tired of those, but is there a way to monetarily make it worthwhile for studios to preserve their games or to go back and do all the legwork of, the renegotiating of contracts and things like that? Maybe there's something along those lines that they could explore, because people do seem to want to have this happen.
I know it's a threat to companies, even independent studios that are building new ideas and new products, and putting them out there. And they're being, the Saboteur is a great example, because the day that came out was also the day, and I can't remember the other game that this pertains to, but an independent developer released a game on the same day that EA put 6 of their titles onto Steam, and one of them was the Saboteur, which was the one that I was most excited about. And so what happened is that indie game was released on Steam, but it was immediately crowded out by these 6 big EA classic games, and it pushed them down, and all the attention was like, oh my God, EA released the Saboteur, that's so cool. And so they lost all of that front page moment and momentum. And lost tons in sales. And I totally understand that. I get that. But I think one thing that developers also need to reconcile with is that one day their game will be a classic game. And they should endeavor to preserve their game and all the work that went into it, and find a way to continue to tell the story around its reason to exist and why it's out there. And people will find it.
I say this all the time. When I am, 80 or 90 or maybe even older, I'm going to be on a bed and playing games and going back and replaying my entire backlog.
I mean, every weekend on our YouTube channel, we're premiering these EP Classic episodes, and
people love them.
Week. Yeah, and it's so fun to go back in the 20 plus years and to see these games. But when you see those games, you recognize, man, those games are still fun to play right now. Classic games are still
old.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Fun doesn't just dissipate.
That's why 8-bit still is a thing.
Totally,
it never went away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Victor, it's always so great talking about games with you, especially on one week where we actually have some positive and exciting things
very
to
good
talk
news.
About.
Yeah, big time. Thanks for having me
on. Of course. And have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon. Victor Lucas is a content creator and host for The Electric Playground. You can follow him on Twitter at Victor_Lucas.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle. I had the best time bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening, and shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you same time, same place. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.